Hello, this is a special edition YouTube exclusive Mercury Retrograde in Aries. Everything you need to know for April of 2024. I'm going to go over what this means in general, dates, times, specifics. You're going to watch the beginning part of this because the beginning part is where I'm going to go over all the general information about Mercury retrograde, the specifics of this particular retrograde and what to expect. And then at the end, I'm going to go over all 12 astrological signs individually, so you won't want to miss that. I'm going to timestamp the video below so that it's like a chapter of a book, so you can go right ahead to your chapter if you'd like to, check that out, or check out the forecast for a loved one or a family member or a best friend, whatever it may be, and it will be a fun time. Mercury has already been in Aries since March 9th of 2024. It's going to stay in Aries for an extra long period of time because, of course, when it's retrograde, it tends to hover and we get a longer life lesson with Mercury in Aries. That's why these retrograde cycles are so important, not just Mercury, but other retrograde cycles too, because we spend an extra long, in-depth time going over and reviewing and re-reviewing. Now, retrograde simply means that the planet appears as if from the Earth to go backwards. That's actually an optical illusion. The planet doesn't go backwards, but in the sake of this broadcast, I'm going to talk about it going reverse and backwards and all kinds of things, just because it's redundant to keep explaining that over and over, but that's basically what it means. It doesn't literally go backwards, but it appears to be that way from the Earth and where we stand. And so that's what we call a retrograde. Now, in astrology, it means that the planet itself is somewhat weakened, or that we're going back over to review something because, again, retro, right? We're going back. It's like Throwback Thursday, only for however long the retrograde lasts. In this particular instance, Mercury is 3 weeks, 3 times a year. Every year. I know sometimes it feels longer, but it is only 3 weeks, 3 times a year. And in 2024 specifically, Mercury is going to be retrograde in all of the fire signs. So it's starting out with Aries, and then eventually it'll be retrograde once it gets to Leo, and then it'll be retrograde once it gets to Sagittarius. So we're going to have an extra in-depth, and it always does that. It always kind of picks an element, if you will, and then, it highlights that particular element. So all the fire sign elements are going to be getting it this year with Mercury retrograde. Now, we have a lot of planets already in Aries, and there's going to be a lot of astrological activity in Aries because we're in Aries season. And then, of course, we cannot ignore that big, huge solar eclipse, the total eclipse that's coming on April 8th, in case you haven't heard. And that's going to be in Aries too, specifically 19 degrees Aries. So wherever that is in your astrological chart, you're going to have an extra, there's a lot of things going on where it's going to highlight that, and that's going to be a rebooting, resetting of, the energies in that location. So there's a lot of rebirth kind of happening. Now, this is the time of year for that to happen because Aries astrological sign is all about that. If you think about the holidays in Aries season, Easter and all these different holidays, Austera, that's all pertaining to new life, rebirth, kind of starting something new, transformation, all those things. Mercury in Aries is not all fun and games. Mercury in Aries definitely is bold and direct, and a lot of times honest, straightforward, a straight shooter, that's what they kind of tend to call Mercury and Aries people. But also it's somewhat impulsive. It can be rude. It can be angry, like bickering or fighting, or very confrontational. And so that is something that we have to kind of watch with Mercury and Aries. But if you're normally a shy person, and if you're somebody who has really a hard time self-advocating and sticking up for yourself and, needing that little extra, Mercury in Aries can be very helpful for you. But if you're already a combative person, or a person that has anger issues, gets frustrated frequently, is rather impatient, well, this is not, that could be too much of a thing, where you could just be grumpy this whole cycle, which is not fun, So Mercury being in Aries is definitely about wanting to stay and speak about being authentic. Now, if you think about Mercury and what that does for us astrologically, Mercury is kind of in charge of how we speak, our language, and how we come across, how we communicate, and also travel. So if you think about Mercury, he was the guy that had the chariot, the Pegasus. He was disseminating information. He was spreading the word. So we may see a lot of, sort of issues with transportation and travel and things like that. I just, that big bridge collapse in Baltimore was just a few days before Mercury retrograde is starting, definitely in the pre-shadow portion of things. So, I mean, there's some things that can happen during that time with travel. So you just want to be, cautious, and you want to make sure that you check your luggage, double check, triple check, and do all the things that you need to do while you're traveling to make your travel a little bit more comfortable and not quite as hectic. If you don't check your bag, maybe that could help, or I don't know, allowing yourself enough time to get to the next gate if you're flying or whatever it may be. Now, this can be a very restless time. This can be a very spontaneous time. And like I said, it's definitely pertaining to fresh starts and insights, having a lot of insight. Aries is a bold sign. It is all, I call Aries scrappy. It's a scrappy energy. And so we are supposed to be doing all these things, except for Mercury is retrograde. So even though I'm talking about fresh starts, and there's going to be a lot of things pushing us to have a fresh start during this retrograde. The sun in Aries, we have the North Node, the moon in Aries, we have Chiron in Aries, we have, a lot of astrological energy in Aries already. And that's not, even everything. We have Mercury in Aries. And then we're going to eventually have Venus in Aries. So there's a lot of things going on that are going to be pushing us to start new, pushing us to start fresh. That's what Aries is for. But with this retrograde, it's kind of like, get the idea, get the download, have the inspiration and all these things. But are you supposed to do anything about it? Well, you can do some research. You can look behind the scenes. You can explore things. But as far as like officially starting a new thing, like having a grand opening of a business, or going on a first date, or, all the things that you can do that have like far reaching consequences, buying a new car or buying a house during that time, it's not ideal. So it's something that you want to kind of use with caution. Again, these are guidelines. These are not hard rules, but you just want to use caution with starting new things during this time, even though we're getting pushed astrologically to kind of have new insights and having these epiphanies and all kinds of newness that is around, because that's what Aries season is all about, especially with this total eclipse new moon. We're going to definitely be feeling that we have to start something new, and start fresh. So it's a little bit of a dichotomy, if you will, a little bit of a, the energies are pushing and pulling in each direction, downloading these new information and all that, but you're not really supposed to be totally acting on it until Mercury is no longer direct. And when I say acting on it, I mean as far as closing on that house, or as far as asking that person out on a date, or as far as, starting that business and having the grand opening. You can do things behind the scenes to set up those things. But as far as implementing them, you want to wait until after the retrograde is over. Okay, so when is this all going to take place? So it officially starts on April 1st. No, it's not an April Fool's joke, at 6:14 p.m. Eastern time. So earlier than that, if you're on the West Coast, at 3:14 p.m. Pacific time. And then it lasts all the way until April 25th, 2024 at 8:54 a.m. Eastern time. It'll be done being retrograde. Now, that doesn't account for, the wonkiness that we have the first days of the retrograde, first few days before, first few days after. I don't really go, I've been asked this many times. I don't really go by I pay attention, I'll say, to the pre-shadow and post-shadow But as far as these retrograde rules, I don't really follow them in the shadow times. I'm just more aware that Mercury is wonky, because remember, it's like a car, right? If it starts, it has to go, and then it slows down. It appears to stop. That's called stationary retrograde, and then it goes backwards, and then it stops again to go forward, and that's stationary direct. And so when we have these planets doing these things, they get wonky in the beginning and at the end, because they're switching direction and they're not going very fast. And, so I tend to feel, I feel these retrogrades in the beginning and right at the end, but kind of in the middle, it's sort of like, we're hanging out. Okay, we're cruising. We're going backwards, but we're going backwards at a good rate and speed. But the slowing down, stopping, and the slowing down and speeding up is the time. And again, I'm talking about as they appear from the planet. That's the time that I feel is the most wonky around the retrograde time. Okay, so Mercury is going to be doing all kinds of fun, interesting things during this retrograde. First of all, it's going to start out at 27 degrees Aries, and it's going to go all the way back to 15 degrees Aries. So this is where we're reviewing. We're going backwards. So if you have any planets in Aries, in Libra, any of those things, you're going to be feeling this a lot. Also the cardinal signs for sure. Capricorn, Cancers will be feeling that as well. And so it's a lot of astrological energy in these signs, and it's gonna affect most people, but it also depends on where is Aries in your astrological chart in order to know how it'll affect you. Again, I'm going to be posting that at the end of this video, each and every sign, so you can learn about that. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead, post your astrological sign below. Where is Mercury affecting you? What sun sign are you? Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you're alerted during times when I do these exclusives, and you'll be able to get them directly to you. Okay, so Mercury is going to interact really specifically with 3 different planets during this retrograde time. So there's always a time in the middle of the retrograde where it conjuncts the sun. So sun in Aries, Mercury and Aries are going to be on top of each other, and that's going to be on April 11th at 7:03 p.m. Eastern time. Again, towards more the end of Aries at 22 degrees Aries. So these two are going to be right on top of each other. So when the sun and Mercury do that, so what happens is the sun, is doing its thing. Mercury eventually goes up in front of the sun, or at least it appears, that way. And then it goes retrograde, so it conjuncts the sun again, and then it falls behind. That's what's basically happening whenever it's like, I call it the middle of the retrograde, because that point is an interesting point, because everything starts to speed up around that time. So April 11th is, even though it's Mercury retrograde, let's say you absolutely have to give a presentation for work, or you absolutely have to do some mercurial thing, because remember, thinking, talking, communicating, our brain activity, our thoughts, ideas, what we want to convey, that's all going to be happening around, that's all going to be increasing and speeding up and everything around that time. So that would actually be a great time during the retrograde. That's always a time where, for just a couple days, it gets really fast. We'll get a lot of emails, a lot of calls, a lot of texts, a lot of busyness, and then it sort of slows down. When it starts going behind the sun, more and more and more, it starts to really slow down. So if you have anything you have to do for work, and I'm saying, you can't get out of it and it's something you got to do, give a presentation, do some kind of travel thing, whatever, because Mercury, again, can be very helpful. That's the time you want to do it, around the 11th. Okay, so the other thing that's going to happen is Mercury is going to form a conjunction with Chiron, and that's going to be on April 15th. 11:24 a.m. Eastern time is the peak of it. But again, it's going to be a few days that it's going to be, kind of doing its thing. If that seems at all familiar to you, that's because it happened on March 20th, on April 15th, and it will happen again on May 7th. And that's going to be in Aries. So we're going to have 3 sort of swipes of Chiron. That's kind of what's happening there. And Mercury's in Aries, Chiron's in Aries. And so this is the wounded healer. Now, Chiron, where the sun gives us an increase in confidence. There's a lot of busyness. There's a lot of shining that we can do around the sun time when Mercury is conjunct the sun. Now when Mercury forms a conjunction with Chiron, we're healing something, okay? We're going to be healing ourselves. Now, Aries is the sign of the self. So when you think about healing, it's all about self-care, focusing on yourself, putting yourself first. I say it's okay to be a little spiritually selfish sometimes, and that's all good stuff to do around Mercury and Chiron. And our words could be healing. Our words could be healing, but what are you also telling yourself? What words do you speak to yourself? And that's something to keep in mind. And then there's a lovely conjunction coming right at almost at the end of the retrograde on April 19th. And that's going to be at 4:59 a.m. Eastern time. And that's where Mercury is going to form a conjunction with Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. By then, she's going to be in Aries herself. And these two are lining up. So this is words of affirmation, and our love language being words, and being able to seduce with our words, and being able to be romantic and flirt, and all those things. So again, it's kind of not fair that we're having all these sort of delicious conjunctions and important, alignments when Mercury is in Aries, and yet we're not really supposed to quite act on it just yet. Remember the REs: review, reevaluate, reorganize, reconnect, all that stuff. Cue in the X's. Yes, that is a time, especially around that Venus time, where X's can come back and we can really feel connected to people from the past, whether that's exes or friends or whatever it may be. That is a wonderful time for Mercury to get reconnected, and to help us to communicate and help us to reach out. Again, communication can be wonky. This is where we can put our foot in our mouth, but also it can help us to reevaluate something with our communication. Maybe we need to be, yes, direct and honest and forthright, but also a little more tactful or a little bit more patient. Aries is not good at patience. So it's something that we need to work on and just sort of reevaluate. Remember, this new moon solar eclipse is going to be also very, very potent when it comes to Mercury, because it's going to be sort of close to Mercury. So this new moon solar eclipse in Aries, sun will be in Aries, moon will be in Aries, is going to be at 19 degrees Aries. And Mercury at that time, on that day, will be at 25 degrees Aries. So you see they're very close. 19 and 25 are very close. And people have asked me about these degrees, and they're like, what does this mean? And without going into a big rabbit hole, think about it as almost like a clock. If it's 1:19 p.m. or 1:25 p.m., that's pretty close, right? So that's what I'm saying, is they're very close together. And so those will be an alignment too. They're going to be all kind of mashed together, and there's going to be a lot of complexity around that eclipse, especially in the astrological sign of Aries. So there's going to be a lot of lessons wrapped up about the self-confidence, self-asserting, being able to believe in yourself, and all that good stuff, because that's the basic solid foundation of our lives, is really ourselves. Now, when you watch this next portion, you want to look up either your sun sign or your rising sign would be even better. Or if you are a more advanced student of astrology, you can watch the house that it's in, which area of your chart is it in. And also, if you know someone that, again, you want to check on, your boyfriend or girlfriend's Mercury retrograde, where that's going to be, or your mom or dad's, or your child's, or whatever, you can also watch those as well. So you can click in the description, pull down, and there are timestamps below that can help you out, and you can be able to watch those. Enjoy. Hello, Aries sun sign, Aries rising sign, or Aries in the first house. Welcome, welcome. This is your astrological forecast for this particular Mercury retrograde. Boy, you are in the heart of this retrograde. You are at ground zero of this retrograde. This is all up in your Aries, especially if you are an Aries sun sign or rising sign or whatever. You're going to have this affecting you. Now, this is going to be all about you, boo. I mean, this is really going to be taking place in your first house of self. It's all about self-confidence, being, all the things, Aries, scrappy, being a survivor, all of those things. But here's the thing, Aries, where you're coming from, you've been working a lot behind the scenes on something. You've been having a lot of and that's not like you, right? Like you like to be sort of more out and more direct, but there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. There could be a secret project that you're working on, or maybe you're just sort of trying to figure yourself out and your place in the universe. Even it could be pertaining to people, maybe secrets and, some things that are going on, behind the scenes for you. And you don't like that. You like to be out front. You like to be bold. You like to be blunt, restless, and all those things. So there's a lot of things that you're going to be working on in this Aries cycle, Mercury and Aries retrograde cycle. You're going to be revisiting, your image, potentially how you appear outwardly. Maybe you might be thinking about getting a new haircut and having a new outfit or some kind of thing. Also your self-image, which is even more important than just the exterior stuff. I mean, you might be really, kind of wondering or thinking about or concentrating on, how do people perceive you? How do you outwardly, kind of project yourself? How do you communicate? How do you come across? There might be something during this retrograde that someone might say, oh, you're being a little blah, 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 fill in the blank. And you might have to take that feedback, which Aries are not great at. So it's something that you might have to, or maybe you're checking yourself. You might say, I shouldn't have said that, or maybe that came across a little cutting or a little pointedly. And so Aries, we're known for that. And so Mercury being in Aries right now, we're going to be having these lessons and revisiting all of these things. There's no hiding your feelings, even though there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Aries have a tough time. They're kind of, it's a sign, unless if you have like some deep Scorpio or something else in your chart, it's a sign that really likes to just sort of put it out there. And so you're not hiding your feelings. So are you really conveying properly who you are? Are you this person that's kind of grumpy or pointed, or is that just like you're just having an irritable time right now? Or maybe you're just having a time where there's just been so much going on right now. You didn't mean to snap someone's head off, or just be a little bit overly, pointed, like I said. So this is time to kind of really look inside. If you're having those things, to really look inside and say, okay, who am I? And how am I really defining myself? And how do I come across, and how do I convey? Because, I always say that words have a lot of energy, have a lot of power. And this statement associated with Aries is I am. So how do you define yourself? I am, right? I am honest, or I am authentic, or I am, or do we say I am lazy, or I am this or that, and it's more of a negative self-talk. So you really want to talk up to yourself and fill in those blanks, because deep down, Aries wants to help. Aries is a scrappy sign, like I said, and you'll fight for what you believe in. So that are all admirable traits. It's just that potentially, that old-fashioned saying, you get more flies with honey than with vinegar. That's what Aries has to keep in mind during this retrograde time. However, remember, there's going to be a lot of opportunity, Aries, because we're going to be at ground zero with that eclipse and Chiron and Venus and all these other planets that are going to be helping us too. So it's not just Aries. We're looking at this in a myopic way in this video with Mercury, but this is really a time for you to embrace many new things in your life. And really, I think Aries are going to come out of this month really almost like we're going to have a whole new persona. Now I'm going to pull one card. What do Aries need to know to give us a little bit more guidance and a little bit more clarity? What is the most important thing for Aries to know? Oh my gosh. I love this card. Be honest with yourself. I'm using Doreen Virtue's fairy cards. Unfortunately, they are out of stock right now because her cards are no longer available. But Be honest with yourself. So, I mean, yeah, we can be honest with others and talk to them, you know, honestly, or I'm just going to tell you, but hey, are we actually being honest with ourselves, you know? And that's the most important thing, because the more congruent, the more authentic we are, the more Aries actually will feel comfortable. And this is all about that. This is all about kind of going back to ground zero. What do we want? Hello, Taurus, Taurus sun sign, Taurus rising, or if you have Aries on your 12th house. Welcome, welcome. This is going to be a very interesting time for you, Tauruses. There's a lot of introspection going on during this Mercury retrograde for you. You're not really in the spotlight at this time. You're kind of more behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff going on for you behind the scenes, Tauruses. There's a lot of subconscious patterns that you're looking at. You're looking at kind of your life. You're having a little bit of an existential crisis, like, what am I doing here? You know, what's the purpose of all this? There's a lot of like inner dialogue stuff. Sometimes this might be even a good time to reach out to a trusted friend, a counselor, a therapist, an astrologer, and somebody that could help you maybe with some of these insights, reading self-help books or podcasts or something, but you're kind of dealing with some inner dialogue and inner stuff. There's sort of some shadowy stuff coming up for you. And it's kind of making you think about things, where you're coming from, Taurus, and where a lot of energy has been for you has been in your area of friendships, groups of people, social situations. Like, who is your tribe? Who are your people? Do you have besties? Do you have people to rely on? Are you doing more for those people than they're doing for you, or vice versa? Maybe even what some of your goals are in reference to giving to like a charity or some sort of organization. You've been spending some time doing that stuff, especially around the social stuff and the tribe sort of aspect. And you may be even dabbling in some politics or something, but anyway, now you're going inside, you're going internal, you're going into what do you say to yourself, really? I mean, you know, we have a lot of self inner dialogue, and there's a lot, there's a lot of things we say to ourselves, and studies have shown that the majority of things we say to ourselves is not usually overly positive. It's not like we're spending all this time like, oh my God, I can't get over how good my hair looks today. You know, like we're not usually telling ourselves those things. We're usually saying, well, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. And it's okay to do some of that and having some of that introspection, but getting caught up on that can put us into like sort of a dark loop or a dark sort of cycle. For sure, friends for you could come out of nowhere during this Mercury retrograde, but also could be a frenemy as well. So just kind of use caution with that, because sometimes that could be a difficult personality that's kind of working against you or working behind the scenes, and that's not always a fun thing. This is where you're revisiting the past during this Mercury retrograde. Every Mercury retrograde is like that, but especially for you, Taurus, you're going to be revisiting the past and or past lives. That's another sort of department. So if anything comes up that's a little bit overly familiar, you've never been here before, but somehow it feels like deja vu, that could be a past life portal that you're going through and something that you're going to be experiencing. There could be some kind of spiritual awakening or understanding that you have during this time. And for sure, the biggest thing I think with this is it's really a wonderful opportunity to release past traumas or burdens. And there's a lot of like life lessons that you could be learning during this retrograde. It's an important one. It's an important retrograde for you, but it's really something that is kind of behind the scenes that other people might not realize or think that you're going through. So again, if there's something that you really want to talk about or convey, you want to do it with a trusted, individual and, work on that aspect of yourself. So I'm going to pull a card for you, Taurus. What do you need to know in reference to this particular Mercury retrograde specifically? What does Taurus need to know? I'm just going to pull a card here. Oh, see? Oh my gosh, that's a perfect card. Higher consciousness. And these are Doreen Virtue fairy cards. Higher consciousness. This is all about connecting to your crown chakra, having that spiritual awakening. Higher conscious, you could say, is your God consciousness, your higher consciousness. It's all about the crown chakra, you know, connecting to God, Buddha, Allah, whoever you pray to. Also your higher self, you know, higher consciousness is about your higher self. And what does your higher self want for you? Not just the everyday minutia, but like really what makes your spirit happy. You know, our soul, our spirit, all that stuff. Taurus, you guys don't really spend a lot of time maybe dwelling there, unless if you have, you know, a lot of Pisces or something in your chart. You don't typically spend a lot of time dwelling on those things and thinking about those things, but really this is the time to do it during this next Mercury retrograde. I hope you have a good one. Hello, Gemini, sun sign, Gemini rising, or if you have Mercury and Aries transiting your 11th house, welcome. This is going to be a wonderful Mercury retrograde for you, I think, in some way. You're going to be reevaluating your friendships. It's going to be occurring in your area of friendships, social circles, your future goals and plans, what you want to do with your life, all those types of things. Who is your tribe, Gemini? This is all about reevaluating that stuff. Some people may stay, some people may go. There could be a miscommunication or two with a friend during this time, so you want to make sure that you watch out for that and just be mindful of how you're communicating. Mercury is your ruler, Gemini, so you may tend to feel Mercury retrogrades a little bit harder than some other signs, because whenever one of our ruling planets goes retrograde, it kind of, you know, messes with our sign. So it's something that we have to kind of keep in mind. Now, recently, you've been working a lot at your career, your goals, maybe something to do with a parent, maybe something to do with like a lot of obligations, or even your legacy of like what, you know, what you're leaving, you know, behind. But you're working a lot. There's a lot going on behind the scenes for you in reference to that work, and kind of your thought about what contribution do I leave to the world. That there's a lot of things going on for you, especially in that department. And so now you're going to be focusing on these group dynamics. This might even border on some political views and you know, philanthropy and things like that, where you're really wanting to make a difference in the world right now. And like I said, you want to really connect. This might be a very, very busy retrograde, because you might be really wanting to connect a lot with people. You might hear from friends out of nowhere. You might run into a friend at the grocery store. All those things are very, very possible for you, Gemini. But there's a lot of things. Now, also, this is going to be taking place in your area of goals, aspirations, you know, dreams and things like that. Like sort of what you want to accomplish. And I think it's a very important retrograde. You're a very social butterfly anyway. And so this is going to be something, unless if there's other things in your chart that, you know, prohibit that. But you're typically, most Geminis that I know are very, you know, social. They like to talk, they like to communicate, because again, it's all that good Mercury stuff. So when it's your sign, it can really just stir up all that stuff for you. But this could be one of those really fun ones where you have a lot of reconnection from the past, and that could be really a good time for you. So I'm going to pull one card for you, Gemini. What do you need to know during this retrograde? And I am going to, this is what I was talking about earlier with maybe having to deal with a parent or a child. There's a lot of maybe you've been having a heavier time, Gemini, with a lot of obligations. You know, your soul, your spirit, Geminis, you know, I feel like you guys are butterflies. You know, you guys are really just going all around. And there's been a lot of heaviness behind the scenes where you've had to work really hard, or you've had to do a lot of things, or there's just been a lot of responsibilities lately. And so parenting and children are still going to be a part of this retrograde for you. But maybe it's a time to remember to have fun with them, not just like picking up the prescription and dropping the kids off at school, and all the things that you have to do for being a parent, or having children, or even being a fur mama or fur papa. And it's really about concentrating on that, but also too, think about your inner child. You guys are like the Peter Pans of the zodiac, and I feel like also focusing on your inner child during this time, remembering it's not all hard work and you need to have some fun, you need to play. So enjoy. Hello, Cancer Sun, Cancer Rising sign, or if you have Mercury and Aries transiting through your 10th house, welcome, welcome. This is your astrological forecast for this Mercury retrograde. You are going to be all about career, health, your legacy, what you're putting out to the world, all of those things. You have been dealing with behind the scenes a lot of stuff pertaining to potentially traveling, potentially legal issues, potentially thinking about like studying or going to school or becoming a teacher or taking classes or whatever it may be. You might be thinking a lot, you might have been recently thinking a lot about traveling or, getting out to explore, or maybe having to travel because of a relative or something like that. And so now you're going to be, this particular Mercury retrograde cycle is going to be focusing on your 10th house, which is the area of career. What do you kind of offer to the world? What is your, it doesn't have to be a paid career. It can be some mission or some thing that you sort of offer to the world, and what you do, okay, for people, for the world, for society. And in this time, you're going to be learning how to communicate with authority figures. Maybe somebody older than yourself, maybe somebody just that's in charge, but you're going to be learning how to communicate with these authority figures. You are one of the cardinal signs. Aries is a cardinal sign, Cancer is cardinal sign. So you might be a little more stressed out during this Mercury retrograde because it'll be highlighting your hashtag boss, okay, energy that you have. Cancers are the boss of all of the water signs. And so this might actually, Aries and Cancer are square each other, which means you might not you might be a little extra crabby, we'll just say. So you're going to have to learn how to deal with colleagues, how to maybe even interact with the public. These are all things that you're going to have to focus on. And like I said, you might just be a little cranky pants during this time. Does your career meet your emotional needs? That's some of these questions that you might go back to the drawing board and ask yourself during this time. Also, what's your reputation? During this, it's really important to, look, you might be a little grumpy and you might be a little out of sorts. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on your reputation, because, like, let's say you, say the wrong thing to somebody who's in high places. Well, that could hurt your reputation. So you just want to watch that energy. Yes, offer support at work. Do your Cancerian thing, nurture your career, offer your support as long as you can, you're not overextending yourself. But, so that you can smooth out some of this kind of terse energy that's behind the scenes, you can sort of smooth that out and kind of have it be a little bit more softer and gentler. This could also be a time involving, like I said, maybe somebody older than you, not just somebody in authority, but even like a parent or somebody that you're kind of trying to help out. So this could be a little uncomfortable for you, like I said, and so make the most of it if you can, and try to kind of keep your eye on the prize, that play the long game. In other words, not the there's that old saying, win the war and not the battle, or something like that. But basically, in other words, you want to keep your eye on the prize, play the long game. Don't just go for these short everyday wins. Well, I told off my coworker. Well, that you might feel better in the moment, but in the long run, that's going to be a terrible thing to do. So keep your eye on the prize with that. I'm going to pull a card for Cancer risings. What do you need to know during this Mercury retrograde in Aries? Mm. So this is a time, remember what I said, you want to like put on your charm a little bit more, making new friends. Yes, Aries does help us to self-advocate and, stick up for ourselves and all those things. But we can also, again, if you use your charm, your superpower, which is that nurturing, caretaking, loving ability, and make sure you're loving yourself too. But this could be a time that you're connecting with friends, making new friends. Try to use some of that charm and that nurturing ability to be able to win people on your side. And I think that there's a blessing that can come out of all of this, even though it could be just a little bit more tense than what's ideal. Enjoy. Hello, Leo rising, or if you have Mercury and Aries transiting your 9th house, welcome, welcome. This is your astrological forecast for Mercury retrograde. Leo rising, you guys are going to be potentially challenged in the area of beliefs. You might be thinking about education, both educating yourself and or education of a child in your life, or even maybe teaching classes, taking extra classes, all of those things. You're going to be thinking about areas that are long distance, maybe like you've been thinking about travel more recently, more frequently, and really about rekindling, because Leo, you're a very creative sign, and you might be really rekindling your love of travel and having passion for learning and all of that stuff. That's very much about how Leo sort of likes to do things in grand style, so you want to think about learning a new language or traveling to a new area. Recently in your life, Leos, you've been really dealing with a lot behind the scenes pertaining to finances, money, shared resources. You might even be questioning mortality. There might be like maybe somebody in your life that's going through that and you're like thinking about that yourself. There's a lot of transformation, and there's a little bit of intimacy stuff too, which could be sexy energy, but it also could be, just like another depth of something that you're sort of longing for or having, and all of those types of things are very intense. And so you're really wishing you could go on a friggin' vacation. That's really what it comes down to. Leo rising, you might be wanting to go on a vacation because during this time there could be something that comes up pertaining to legal things like signing contracts, a new house or a loan, or a lease or some kind of thing, or it could even be more like true legal stuff like a divorce or some other thing. So you might have to deal with something like that during this time. You might also be seeking or wishing that you had some sort of recognition in your intellectual pursuits. If you do want to pursue getting a higher education and learning and all that, there would be a real thing there and a real call to teach. And that's going to be something that is very powerful. Now, it is interesting because a lot of astrologers don't talk about this, but this area of your chart is actually the area of second or more marriages. Like it's not your primary marriage. It's like if you're looking, so if you've already been married and you're single and you're out looking, this could be a time when that's sort of highlighted as well. Again, it's second or more marriages. So that's something that there could be like a little love stuff going on there. Now you're a fire sign, Leo, and Aries is a fire sign too. So it's like you're twins right now. You're activating, all the fire energy is activating. And so this could be helpful for you. Though it will fire things up in this department, it can also be helpful for you because this is all beautiful flowing energy. Whenever the same element gets activated, all of this, element kind of lights up. And yeah, so I mean, this could be something that is really, now you'll be reevaluating, Leo will be reevaluating once Mercury goes into Leo over the summer. So you'll be reevaluating things then too. So but this is your time to shine and really think about your future. Whether it's going to school or where you're headed in life. And I think that this is something that could be very powerful for you. I'm going to pull a card for you, Leo. What do you need to know about this particular Mercury retrograde to help you out? Oh, feeling safe. You know, it's important right now to feel safe, to feel secure, and especially with what you're working on with this shared money resources. Leos right now have a potential of receiving some money, either through work or through a marriage or through, you know, a loan or some kind of thing. And the root chakra is actually associated with safety and security, and it's also associated with money. So it's interesting when you think about feeling safe in our culture. Usually a lot of times we feel safe when we have money. You know, it's like, oh, I can pay my bill, or I can do this or this. So this is all about wanting to feel safe emotionally, physically, fiscally, financially, all that stuff, is giving yourself that permission to have that safety, that security. And also it's definitely, you want to make sure that you're safe if you are traveling or you're wanting to travel, making sure. I always say Mercury retrograde is actually a fantastic time to go on vacation. It's just the getting there and getting back that is hard when you're catching a flight and planes, trains, automobiles, all that stuff. But making sure if you are traveling, let's say to an area that has some security issues or something, you want to make sure that you are safe during that travel. So enjoy. Hello, Virgo, Virgo rising, or if you have Mercury and Aries transiting your 8th house, welcome, welcome. You are going to be in a very deep area during this Mercury retrograde. Mercury and Aries for you right now is a very deep thing, and it's going to be going through your area of intimacy and shared resources and you know, layers and layers of deep sort of analysis, sort of wanting to look really into your psyche, all these things. Intimacy also physically or, you know, through speaking. There's a lot of introspection that's going on with you right now, Virgo. Now, where you're coming from and what you've been dealing with for a while now, and it's kind of been sort of bubbling beneath the surface, is that you've been having to sort of think about partnerships, relationships, if you want one, if you're in one, all the different avenues, because again, this is a general broadcast, but you know, you might be having to deal a lot with boundary issues. You've been like, this is what's been going on behind the scenes for a little while now for you. You might have been disillusioned lately or feeling kind of let down by partners. That's also another possibility. And there's really a wanting to sort of connect with another person on a spiritual level right now. That's all been the stuff that you've been going on. And now you're getting into this other area where Mercury and Aries plus many other planets are going to be there, where you really want meaning. You know, you want some deep, meaningful experience. You want to have deep, meaningful discussions. You want to really look beneath the surface. You want to chew on things. You want to analyze things. You want to sort of, Virgo, you don't really like things to be messy, and this could be a little messy. Just saying. Now, this is also a money area for you. There's this, it could highlight shared resources. This, you could be thinking about your will. You could be thinking about trust funds or life insurance policies. You could be thinking about loans, taxes, all kinds of stuff is going on right now. And so you might be dealing with a lot of layers. You, or potentially even somebody that you love, and you're just like kind of on the receiving end where you're listening to them and it's like percolating behind the scenes and you're really having to get involved with stuff. You like to sort of, you're like the fixers. You like to fix things, and having things be this sort of emotional and kind of messy and psychological. And you could be even thinking about your own mortality or mortality of a loved one. This is also a time when you potentially, if you as an individual have any mediumship ability in your chart, you could be getting a visitation dream from a deceased loved one, you know, or opening up your abilities in that way. That could be something that, you know, you could get really like sort of tuned in and turned on here during this time with spirit activity, or wanting to kind of explore some more esoteric topics like astrology, tarot, things like that. Also, during this time, it's really important to sort of detox your health. Like if you have been drinking too much or eating too much or, whatever, it's about really cleaning up your health and your diet. And letting go of any kind of sort of negative, things, because I feel like that could clog up your system a little bit. You are ruled by Mercury. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So you guys tend to feel Mercury retrogrades very strongly anyway. And so you really want to make sure that you're watching your ever sensitive nervous system and your sensitive digestion, because a lot of Virgos have problems with their digestion or their nervous system, anxiety being one of them. And so this could sort of ramp some of that up also. And so you want to make sure that you really take good care of yourself. All right, so I'm going to pull a card for you. What do you need to know, Virgo, about this Mercury retrograde in Aries? Oh, see, I was talking about a partner. That's where you've kind of been focusing on behind the scenes, either a romantic partner for yourself or partnering with another person and working with them closely, or a business partnership or some sort of thing with a partner where you're kind of trying to, it's a one-on-one relationship where you're having to work well with another. And so that's something that is going to continue. Like I said, you've been working on that and it's going to continue during this retrograde time. Now, for those Virgos out there that are, could have an ex, this could be an ex coming back or a situationship or some kind of thing. Just remember, it's not ideal to get, a new partner during this time. You want to, pause those dating apps and things during Mercury retrograde. So I hope that helps. Hello, Libra, sun sign, Libra rising, or if you have Mercury and Aries transiting your 7th house, welcome. This is your Mercury retrograde forecast. Well, you're rated home with Libra energy. Being in the 7th house is kind of your native house, really. You like to talk about relationships, talk about partnerships, and there's a lot of review going on in this department. You're going to be revisiting relationships potentially from the past or current partnerships. It's not just partners from the past, but it's also work partners. It could be business partners, anybody that you have a one-on-one close personal relationship with. This is under review right now because not only is Mercury retrograde in this area, but also a lot of other planets are in this area. This is really highlighting you, Libra, a lot more than some of the other signs, because Aries and Libra are opposite of each other. So not only are you also a cardinal sign, Aries is a cardinal sign, you're the hashtag boss of all the air, okay, air element, but also this is opposing you. This is opposing your energy, and it's going to keep coming back to, what do you do for yourself? What do you do for yourself? Now, Mercury retrograde is in this area of partnerships, duets, okay? Being with another, having a team, or not even a team of multiple people, but like teamwork is dream work, where it's a one-on-one, okay, partnership or individual thing. But then at the same time, a lot of planets are in Aries right now. So if you think of your Libra scales, it's like there's a lot of heaviness in the Aries department. So this is saying, don't lose yourself in partnerships. If you have any tendency towards codependency, that could really be brought up during this time. And you're going to be, quite frankly, you're going to be spicy. You're going to be really extra spicy during this. You're going to be a little bit more self-advocating. You're going to be a little bit more having a little chutzpah. Okay, this is going to really bring up communication, in your relationships, being able to sort of say, that's not fair, or I'm doing too much here, or whatever it is. You need to balance your own needs with other people, okay, other people's needs, because otherwise maybe you get, you're not self-advocating, and so this is going to come up for you during this. It's really that's going to be a big thing, a big theme, is really speaking your truth and doing so. Yeah, you can do it with your Libra diplomatic, graceful way. You can definitely do that, but there's just gonna be a lot of stuff. This could also potentially bring up legal agreements in your relationships or partnerships, and just, you know, overall difficult situations. Now, where you're coming from and where you've been, sort of like your energy has been, and where you've been, like what you've been working on up until now, has really been in your day-to-day life, your work environment, co-workers, maybe even working on your health and your wellness, and just like the day-to-day, like just sort of trying to figure out like a new routine or some kind of thing. And you might even had challenges in your day-to-day, like let's say your routine is interrupted by something, like you used to have a routine and now you have a different routine. So you've been like really trying to balance all that, and now we're going to throw in your soft spot or sore spot, or I don't know what spot, but you know, we're going to throw in that sort of thing that is your main life lesson, which is relationships. We're going to now be looking at that. So this could be a little uncomfortable, some of this, for you, Libra. You're getting stressed out. If you have your sun there, you have all this opposition going on with all these Aries energy, and Aries is saying stick up for yourself, self-advocate. And, you know, Libra, you're not always comfortable with that. So now, if you are already a Libra that is comfortable, let's say you say, you know, Gretchen, I've figured all that out. I'm, you know, wiser, and I've learned how to do that. Then you might not feel this retrograde quite as strongly as what I'm saying. You know, there might be like a thing or two that you have to advocate, and that's it. But you're still going to have to think about your relationships and balance out your needs with another person's needs. Okay, I'm going to pull a card for you, Libra. What do you need to know during this Mercury retrograde? What do you need to know? Oh, okay. Oh, I have to I have to block that. This is the card of detoxification, okay, that you have to maybe detox something, whether it's a love, a relationship, something in your life. Like I said, you're working on your health right now behind the scenes, or if you're a healthcare worker, that could be something that you're really working on those things. So the area that you've been in and what has been going on for you is really your area of how you take care of your health, how you take care of your body. But maybe it's like you need to detox something else, like a coworker, or you know, maybe you need to detox your relationship. But you need to let go of something that's making your Libra scales go crazy right now. You know, your Libra scales might be, you might need to really be working on balancing them. So if there's anything like that, you know, the way you're going to experience this is almost like one big long full moon for you. You know, I mean, like this is that oppositional kind of energy. So remember, full moons are about letting go, releasing, wrapping something up, and completing something. So I feel like that's what this Mercury retrograde is going to be about for you, Libra. Hello, Scorpio sun sign, Scorpio rising sign, or if you have Mercury and Aries transiting your 6th house, welcome, welcome. This is your astrological forecast for this Mercury retrograde. You are going to be deeply entrenched in your day-to-day life. You're going to be focused on your health, potentially focused on your work environment. That includes co-workers, where you work, you know, how you work. Do you work from home? Do you work from an office? All that worky kind of day-to-day stuff. When I was a young and immature astrologer, I used to say that this particular area that you're in now is the boring area. I used to think it was kind of like, oh, why would we need that? And now I think of that as a totally different, as I've gotten older and wiser, I think of that as a totally different area of the chart, where actually I think it's the most important area, because health, right? I mean, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So this is really, we're going to be reevaluating your area of health and your area of wellness, particularly paying close attention to the head, because that's Aries is the head. And also Scorpio has an association with the sex organs of the body, you know, all the good stuff. And so you want to make sure that you're focused on those areas of your body and wellness, but just wellness in general, you know, how you take care of your health, your diet, your exercise, and also too, we forget that the area of health is not just the physical health, but it's our mental health too. And so we really want to watch that type of stuff. If you have any kind of gut instinct or intuition, because you are very intuitive, Scorpio. So if you have any intuition about your own health and your body during this time, it would be a good time to get that looked at and sort of focus on it. And this is definitely a good time to start a new habit. I know I just said that because it's Mercury retrograde, but you know what? I think starting habits can be a wonderful thing. And so that can be a good thing, even though it is a Mercury retrograde and we don't want to start new things necessarily. But let's say you're returning to a healthy habit. Let's say you used to walk all the time and now you want to get back to walking. Well, that's okay because you've done that before. And that's a good time to return to things, especially if you've already done them before. Now, where you've been really focused on lately and what's really been sort of an area of lessons for you, could be blessings, could be lessons, but it's just a lot of energy, is you've been really working on your area of children, love, creativity, and really thinking about your inner child as a person. Like how do you treat your personal inner child? Are you having fun lately? I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is all about thinking about that, because you can be a bit serious, Scorpio, okay? And so sometimes you have to just lighten up and have a little bit of fun. This could even be your area of pets. So children, grandchildren, pets, all those things could be highlighted for you. And also if you've been having fun or not. I kind of feel like lately maybe you haven't been having as much fun. And now we're going to add another layer to all this stuff where you're going to be like really thinking about your work. You might get a little intense right now. So watch the coworker thing, or talking to your boss, or people if you have a job, people at your job. You want to make sure you're very, very good at detail and finding out sort of finding out things that are hidden beneath the surface. You're very good at like researching that kind of stuff. So if you have any inclination on doing that, it would be a good time to like start, like, let's say a forensic accounting project or some kind of thing where you have to like research stuff and really figure things out. You're very good at problem solving, very good at training, and all that type of stuff. So this is really time to shine in that department. And like I said, get serious about your health as well. And so that's how you'll have a more successful Mercury retrograde. But there are some things here that are kind of challenging you right now. And it's hard to think about all this seriousness and then also think about having fun and playing. Well, maybe your health goal is to play a little bit more. Like, health could be, like I said, doing something fun physically, maybe joining a softball team, or, whatever, that you could, sort of do both things and sort of quell and meet the needs of both of those areas of your chart. So they always say, if you have an exercise that you really enjoy and that's fun, you'll stick with it. And so that's something to remember. Okay, Scorpio, I'm going to pull a card for you. What do you need to know during this particular Mercury retrograde in Aries? What do you need to know? Ooh, there you go. Rise above problems. This is also, you're also going to be not only Libra, but also Scorpio too. You're going to be dealing with some relationship stuff potentially during this time, or an ex could come back. Trysts, affairs. So you got to rise above problems, my friend. You got to rise above those problems. If you have, you've had some heaviness here. So if you have these things going on that I was talking about, you got to rise up above them. And remember that life is also supposed to be fun too. It's not supposed to just be like hard and drudgery and all those things. We have to rise up above that and, sort of transcend. Okay. And I think that would be there's a lot of transformational energies when Aries and Scorpio kind of get together. They can really kick some butt. And so Aries and Scorpio both share Mars. Mars is the god of war. So, you know, you might be a little bit more spicy during this time, during this Mercury in Aries plus all the other things in Aries. So just watch yourself, because, you know, you can be pointed. And so rising above your problems, transcending those problems, and saying, you know what, everything will work out, okay? And that will be a good message for you, Scorpios. Hello, Sagittarius, Sagittarius rising, or if you have Mercury traveling through your 5th house in Aries, welcome, welcome. Sagittarius, you are going to be activated a lot during this Mercury retrograde, because Aries is a fire sign and Sagittarius is a fire sign. So you're going to be activating up, okay, with the Aries fiery, you know, energy. So you might be a little spicy during this Mercury retrograde and kind of get very activated, but this can also give you some extra energy to accomplish things. You're going to be revisiting creativity during this time. You're going to be revisiting potentially a romantic situation, okay, during this time. You're going to be maybe having an opportunity to do a little bit of risk taking, a little bit of gambling, hobbies, relaxation, all those things. This is going to be a very active time for you. Now, where you've been coming from and where a lot of your focus lately has been is in your area of home and family. You've had a lot of stuff going on in your area of home and family, and some of it has been emotional, okay? So when I mean home, I mean literally where you live, okay? An RV, a mansion, a tiny house, an apartment, whatever, that's real estate area. And then also family of origin, where you came from, your ancestors, and also the family you've created here in this lifetime. Even if it's like your pets, they're your family, okay? So whatever the case may be, you've been having some emotionalness from that area. There's been some domestic energy. There's been some ancestry stuff. You know, you like to kind of keep things a little bit more loosey-goosey. You're not a lover of all that deep emotional kind of drama stuff that's going on, maybe. And so that could be draining you right now. And this is reminding you to play. This Mercury retrograde is going to remind you to play. Sagittarians that I know tend to be very creative people, people who can think outside the box and think differently. And so this is going to activate all of that stuff, because it's not just Mercury retrograde, but we actually have a lot of other activity in that area. So it's okay to explore romance. You're one of the signs that it's getting some romantic, you know, sort of stuff here. But you just want to watch, okay, X is coming back in the back door, okay, you know, trying to come in. I would put a pause if you are trying to date. I would put a pause on those dating apps, because, you know, during Mercury retrograde, it's not an ideal time to meet a new partner. This is your area of flings, trysts, crushes. It's not really an area necessarily of deep, solid commitment. So if you're looking for that, this is more about play. This is more about having fun. This is more about getting out, getting your wiggles out. And this is also the area of pets. It's the area of children, grandchildren. And also looking at and healing your inner child, okay? And allowing your child to play. What do you do for fun? How do you entertain yourself? All of these things are going to be revisited during this time. And so it's really important. You'll be learning how to communicate with your child. Now, just remember, Mercury is in Aries, so there could be a pointed communication with a child, or a pointed, you know, communication with a pet or something like that. So you just want to make sure that you have some patience, because Sagittarius, you're not always super patient. And so that's something that this could ramp up the impatience. And so we want to watch that. Now I'm going to pull a card for you. What do you need to know while Mercury is transiting through Aries? What do you need to know? Oh, there you go. Beautiful. Follow your dreams. I love that. Okay, Sagittarius, you're a dreamer anyway. You're one of the dreamers of the zodiac. And so following your dreams, both at night, your dream life might become more activated. I know a lot of Sagittarians that have the gift of prophetic dreams, meaning dreams that come true, or, you know, dreaming about events that happen before they happen, or even having maybe visitation dreams with a deceased loved one. But this is about following your dreams, your aspirations, your goals. Now, again, it's not a great time to actually start like a major big thing, but you can start doing research, you can start planning, you can start writing things down if you get some downloads and ideas, especially while you're dreaming at night, or even if you're daydreaming. This is a good time to follow them and to really think about what it is that makes you happy. And also, you're kind of lucky in the fact that you're getting this literally in the area that I call the fun zone, okay, of the chart. So you're really in a fortunate position now. We're going to be reevaluating some stuff, and that's okay, but you get to reevaluate what creates fun in your life, and that's a good sort of life assignment. Hello, Capricorn sun sign, Capricorn rising sign, or if you have Mercury and Aries transiting your 4th house, welcome, welcome. You are going to be all up in your area of home and family during this particular Mercury retrograde. You're going to be having a lot of family stuff coming up, good or bad. There's no connotation here. It just is a lot of stuff. You prefer to kind of keep things business, keep things formal, and there's going to be some maybe messy domestic stuff coming up during this time. Now, this is the area of home, literally real estate. So if you sell real estate, maybe you get a lot of client activity, which could be good for you. But this is your area of like wherever you live, your tiny home, your mansion, your RV, wherever. And so this is going to be a big focus on real estate, on your home itself. You definitely want to make sure that you have smoke detectors, or, you know, whatever in your home. You might be like thinking about maybe painting your home, or thinking about, you know, refinancing your home. There's all kinds of home stuff that's highlighted during this time. And also family. So where you came from in your lineage, your ancestry, the family you came from, your parents, your cousins, all that. And then also the family you created here in this lifetime, your kids, your grandkids, whatever it is. And so this is going to be a big domestic thing. Now, remember, Mercury in Aries is a fire sign, and Capricorn is the boss of all the earth signs. So these are two bosses, and Aries and Capricorn sometimes can have a real sort of power dynamic and power play here. So someone could question your authority, or you could question someone else's authority. And so there's a little bit of like a rub, you know, even though all things domestic are coming up, which could be a mixture of good, but also could be a mixture of challenge as well. And that's happening. Now, where you've been learning in your life recently is how to communicate effectively. Your siblings, your neighbors, your neighborhood, maybe even education of yourself or a child. There's something going on behind the scenes where you've been like really learning a lot recently, and maybe even because that's even an area with siblings and cousins. So here we have that area is sort of spilling into this area where it's like family in general. So there's a lot of family stuff around you right now, Capricorns. And so it's learning how to communicate and how to be, you know, effective in your family. Now, a lot of times this might even be wanting to return to some sort of tradition that you had in childhood. That could be a thing, or wanting to maybe explore your ancestry, or like I said, maybe contacting a long lost relative or having them contact you. I mean, all these types of things could come into play. There could also be a thing with a parent during this time, maybe even a mom or grandmom or something, but there's a parent situation brewing there too. So there's a lot of stuff going on for you, Capricorn. There's a lot of responsibility. So generally Capricorns have a lot of responsibility at work, and now you're having a lot of responsibility at home. So you have to remember to be patient, to really explain things. If you have to make a plan, because remember, you're sort of dealing already with communication issues or lessons, we'll say, learning how to express your needs, learning how to listen. I mean, that's part of communication, is listening. So there's a lot of stuff going on for you right now in way. And especially if you have some kind of thing where it's a domestic situation, meaning that you have, you know, someone in your life that you have to take care of, you tend to be the one in the family people look to help them. You know, I mean, you tend to be the matriarch or the patriarch or, you know, whatever, of the family, because you are so responsible. But this is like learning how to say, not it's my way, the highway, or the highway, but also, you know, this is why we're doing it this way, you know, and like kind of being more patient and explaining, which you're not totally in love with doing all that. Explaining yourself. You like to just be like, let's just chop, do it. But no, you're going to be needing to talk and needing to do all that kind of thing. And this could even be a time when you're exploring maybe buying a new home or something. So that could be fun too. Again, don't sign those contracts during Mercury retrograde, but yeah, checking, you know, online portals and, you know, doing all that kind of stuff. And like I said, if real estate is your business, that could be very fruitful. Okay, so I'm going to pull a card for you, Capricorns. What do you need to know during this Mercury retrograde in order to help you? What do you need to know? There you go. Have positive expectations. Okay, a lot of this stuff is going to work out, and you guys sometimes, unless you have a lot of Sagittarius or something in your chart that's different, you guys tend to be a little pessimistic sometimes. And so have positive expectations that things are going to work in your favor, that all this stuff that you've been doing recently, the busyness, the talking, the communicating, the teaching, writing, all the things that you've been working on behind the scenes, and now you're going to be working on all this domestic stuff too, that it's going to work out in your favor. You know, Saturn's your ruler, and Saturn likes to look at things as the cup is half empty instead of half full. And this is just a reminder to say that it might go better than what you think. I will tell you, when Aries and Capricorn come together energetically, it can be extremely dynamic as long as the two don't get into this power struggle. Like I said, that Aries is kind of coming in and challenging you a little bit. But if you work as a team and you take some of that action-oriented Aries combined with your very dynamic, concise, you know, Capricorn energy, holy wow, you could get a lot done during this cycle. Enjoy. Hello, Aquarius, Aquarius rising, or if you have Mercury in Aries transiting your third house, welcome, welcome. This is your astrological forecast for Mercury retrograde in Aries. Oh boy. Okay. So this is going to be big because Mercury is the ruler of communication and travel, like I said in the beginning of the video. Hopefully you check that out. And now in your personal chart, Mercury is going to be in the third house, which is the area of communication. So it's like communication on communication on communication on communication, writing, talking, emailing, texting, you know, all the social media portals, all the things. You're really going to be sort of in that life lesson. This is also the area for you pertaining to siblings, cousins, teachers, and your neighborhood, your neighbors, all kinds of things pertaining to that. And so you might have, people reaching out to you if you haven't connected, like let's say recently with a sibling. You might have your sibling kind of reach out, oh my God, how you doing? And let's go for a walk, you know, whatever. And this is like your neighborhood. You might even want to do something that benefits your neighborhood, your community, your little fun zone, your area of the world that you go to the grocery store and your bank and all the different areas that you sort of go around. So it's really important though, big time important, to work on communication, because this is going to be the crux of your, you know, how do you communicate? Do you communicate effectively? There's all kinds of communication techniques, and it would be really good because you're going to have to not only maybe self-advocate during this time, meaning speak up for yourself, but you might have to mediate between people. Yeah, there's all kinds of things right now, I think, Aquarius. And you've been really concentrating behind the scenes on your money situation. This could even help, you know, if you can communicate effectively. And I always say with a feather, although with Mercury and Aries, it's a little hard to communicate with a feather. you could actually end up bringing in some more money because you've been working so hard. There's been a lot of work around you, Aquarius, and or bringing in money, which is your personal finances, your personal investments, your 401k, your trust funds, whatever thing you got going on. You've been working on how to make more money, and this could for sure be a good time where you could turn a hobby into more of a career or a money-making thing. And it's very dynamic. So if you need to network, if you need to introduce people, if you need to do whatever, this could be very, very busy Mercury retrograde, busy April in general for you of 2024. So that's just a lot of stuff that you're going to be very busy, and it's going to be a lot of balls in the air. So I would say write down things, keep notes, keep your your schedule, because it's going to be kind of hectic, a little chaotic at times. I'm just going to say that. All right, so what do you need to know? I'm going to pull a card for you, Aquarius. What do you need to know? A good thing, I will say this very quickly before I pull the card. Good thing too is that Aries and Aquarius are naturally BFFs. Okay, so you get along well with Aries. There's a lot of dynamic Aries energy right now, and that actually highlights and lights up your Aquarius energy, and it just helps to give to you. So that's a good thing. You're in a harmonious a little bit thing there. All right, so I'm going to pull a card for you. What do you need to know about this Mercury retrograde in Aries? Okay, yeah, because you're so cerebral. I don't know if you can see that. It says body movement. Okay, you're very cerebral sign astrologically. You're very heady. Okay, you like to think about things and analyze things and do all that stuff. But how about moving? How about moving your body, getting out of your head and getting into your physical? Aries is very good at the physical part. You're maybe not as good unless you have a lot of Aries or something in your chart that's a little different. But this is a lot of cerebral energy. So you might be behind your desk a lot. You might be in your social media a lot. You might be at your keyboard and like, oh my God, my shoulders at the end of the day. So you got to move. Maybe get a treadmill for under your desk, or maybe go for a walk after work, maybe walk home if you can from your job, or whatever the case may be. But this is about moving physically, and even doing yoga or any kind of thing like that could help your physical body and be able to relieve some stress and some tension, some eye strain that you might be having because you're just doing so much work right now. So remember to move that body, Aquarius. Hello, Pisces sun sign, Pisces rising, or if you have Mercury retrograde in Aries moving through your second house, welcome, welcome. This is your astrological forecast for Mercury retrograde in Aries. Oh boy, you are working on some money. You and Virgos both are working on some money stuff during this time, Pisces. And this is a lot of, most of us, not all of us, but most of us have to work for our money. But this is more than just working for your money and a career situation. This is about your personal finances, your investments, loans, 401k, all those things. You're working really hard on improving your financial status. You want to elevate yourself, and you've been really working hard lately on all of that, and you're going to continue to do so. Because behind the scenes and recently, you're going through a bit of a reinvention, especially during this last couple years since Saturn has been in Pisces. Since last year, we have a lot of astrological energy in Pisces right now in general. And so you're going through somewhat of a reinvention. It hasn't always been comfortable. I almost feel like it's like a phoenix rising up out of the ashes. You're sort of like remembering how to self-advocate, how to believe in yourself, all of the stuff that makes you, you're Pisces is not entirely comfortable all the time with self-advocating and fish, if you think of the Pisces symbol, which is the fish would just rather swim away than deal with all that stuff. But you've been called to action recently. You've been taken to task, okay? And it's like, I almost feel like a lot of Pisces have been kind of cornered right now and sort of like being asked to like really who are you, and advocate for yourself, stick up for yourself, believe in yourself, get that confidence to remember who you are as a person. And I feel like that has all been activated behind the scenes. So leading into this Mercury retrograde in Aries, plus there's all this other, that might actually equate into cha-ching, some money for you, some real dollar signs, you know? Because I always say, when a person believes in themselves, when they have that confidence, when they're shining their light and they're getting their mojo back, and they're, because you've been having some problems lately, Pisces. I'm just gonna say, with Saturn in Pisces, you've been having some problems in Pisces. Okay, so when you're feeling beaten down and not good about yourself, it's hard to, you know, sometimes all things around you can suffer. But if you start to believe in yourself and you start to get empowered and you start to bring yourself up, you could actually, that could elevate you financially and have a good status. This is also things, the area of things you value, like maybe antiques, artwork, cars, homes. Like, it's like your financial assets, you know. So it's not just your money you have in your wallet, it's your investments, it's your assets, it's all the stuff. So you want to elevate and you want to do some things. Now, remember, Mercury's retrograde, so we don't want to start a bunch of things where you're signing up for stuff and you're signing the dotted line, especially contracts. It's not a great time to sign contracts. But it is a really good time to do research behind the scenes. Like, if you're going to invest in something, maybe you want to investigate that company or do some research around things, and all that stuff, because you really want to make sure you read between the lines during Mercury retrograde, because that can make things cloudy. There could be a miscommunication. And when we're talking about dollars and, you know, money, we don't want to have a miscommunication. You know, we don't want to have something where we're maybe not entirely aware fully of what we're getting into. So that's an important thing during this cycle. But the big message for you is, you know, learning how to believe in yourself. Maybe you've had some problems. Maybe you've been feeling down. Maybe you've been, you know, Saturn going through Pisces has been working you out for sure. So again, you got to get your mojo back. You got to believe in yourself. I'm going to pull a card for you. What do you need to know about this Mercury retrograde in Aries? What do you need to know about that? Oh, this is perfect for you. Honoring your true feelings. And Pisces is all about the feelings. So honoring your true feelings. Okay, look at her. She's like kind of reflecting at some water, right? So that's perfect for you, Pisces. Yeah, you know, it's okay to say how you feel. It's okay to believe in yourself. It's okay to state, like, you know, this isn't right for me, or it is right for me, or whatever it is. And so honoring your true feelings. Pisces, you're the king and queens of the feelings area of the chart. And so it's something that, you know, honoring them and believing in them and following through with them, because that's your intuition. And Pisces, you're so intuitive. So a lot of times Pisces are not listening to their own feelings, even though they're one of the most intuitive signs. So honor your true feelings. I love that. I hope that helps, Pisces. If you'd like to have a personalized astrological session, please feel free to reach out to me. All of my details are in the link below.